In this video, we will see about the dependent sources. So in the previous videos, we have seen about the voltage sources and the current sources. Those were the independent sources. Now we will see what are dependent sources. So the dependent sources are those whose value of source depends on voltage or current in the circuit. Okay, you will be having a voltage whose value will be depending upon the other voltage or the current source in the circuit, or you will be having a current source whose value will be depending upon the current or the voltage source in the circuit. And these dependent sources, these are also called as controlled sources. Okay, because these are controlled by the voltage and the current in the circuit, that is other voltages and the current in the circuit. These are indicated by the diamond symbol. Okay, whereas we have seen that we were having the voltage source and current source where we were representing it by a round circle, small round circle, where you were having plus minus sign or you were having some arrow mark for the current source. But here you will be representing the dependent sources by a diamond symbol. Okay, so here we have four types of dependent sources. First is the voltage dependent voltage source, that is the VDVS. Then current dependent current source, CDCS. Current dependent voltage source, CDVS. Voltage dependent current source, that is VDCS. We are taking the first letter of each word here. So VDVS, this is VDVS. Similarly others. Now we will see what are these one by one. First is the current dependent voltage source. Okay, so here current dependent voltage source means we are having a voltage source whose value it depends upon the current source in the circuit. Okay, that is current dependent voltage source. So the voltage, it is depending upon the current, that is it will produce a voltage, okay, as a function of current elsewhere in the given circuit. Okay, it will produce a voltage as a function of current elsewhere in the given circuit. That is called as current dependent voltage source. The voltage source is depending on the current. Then second is voltage dependent current source. So here you can see the symbol is diamond shape. Okay, this is the voltage source, and here voltage dependent current source. This is the current source. It is showing some arrow mark here. Okay, this is a polarity. Here it is plus and minus. So this is the voltage source, and here you can see a arrow mark. It is a current source. Here it is a voltage dependent current source. The current source is there whose value depends upon the voltage. That is, its value depend upon the voltage elsewhere in the circuit. Therefore, such type of sources will produce a current as a function of voltage elsewhere in the circuit. Fine. Then here we have voltage dependent voltage source, that is VDVS. Here we have a voltage which is being produced as a function of voltage, that is another voltage elsewhere in the circuit. Here the voltage is depending upon some other voltage in the circuit. Next we have current dependent current source. So here we have a current source which is produced as a function of another current elsewhere in the circuit. So here it produces a current as a function of current, okay, which is present elsewhere in the circuit. So here these were the four types of the dependent sources, which are also called as controlled sources, which are represented by a diamond symbol, and the value of each source depend upon some other source in the circuit. Thank you.